With FP1 and FP2 done and dusted yesterday, FP3 qualifying into today. The Mercedes found out that they have a lot to gain and a long way to go yesterday. They had to quickly get back into the pit, break the curfew yesterday to make some adjustments and this and that. But ultimately, still today, those adjustments didn't work. On long run pace, they are still far away. On the qualifying pace, they are not there yet. The McLaren still look like the benchmark for this weekend, but we all know Red Bull is the benchmark because in the last 3 years they've been up there doing great things, winning almost all the races, and Max Verstappen doing an outstanding job. George Russell did some quality good pace today, but Lewis Hamilton was not on pace. The car was not giving him what he wants because he has been an 8-pole setter in Hungary and he had won so many races in Hungary. I think he should know how he wants the car to be placed and how he wants to drive the car, but if the car is not doing like that, like towards about 20 minutes to the end of the session, he lost the rear and ran into the grass. Meanwhile, same thing happened to Max Verstappen about 5 minutes to the end of the session. His brakes were not catching and he locked up the front right of the car and went straight into the runoff area, which shows that these drivers are trying to hustle time, get time from here and there, in which their cars are not giving them that. But the McLaren looks poised to give Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri the same feeling they want, because wherever they are calling the car is answering. When they are telling the car do this, the car is doing it. So they are really feeling the car, and it shows that they can still get much out of the car. But what about the Mercedes and the Ferrari? They are still scrambling for where their times are. They're scrambling for where their times are. The session ended with Lando Norris pulling top, Oscar Piastri coming behind him, and Max Verstappen in third. This still shows that it's still between the 4 teams at the top. Any of them can get pole position. Even Sergio Perez can come and get the pole position. We don't still know the 4 runs they are carrying and whatever, but the major thing is some teams are not there, and it might take them 1 minute, 30 minutes, 2 hours to get the right setup for the car to be in the right shape for them to qualify on pole. So anybody can still get it. The Ferrari still look off pace. They are still nursing the pain of the last 3 races in which they have not been consistent, and it shows they still have a long way to go. And for Ferrari, this race should be a make or break for them. The next 2 races, this race and the next race in Belgium, should be a make or break for them, because they don't do well. It shows they need to also the next 3 weeks during the break to look for time where I think there might be no time. But at the beginning of the season, when Mercedes were not there, here and there, flying up and down, not getting the correlation, we think this year might not be a year for them because they were close to a second behind the Red Bull. But they're able to also lead up. They're like 3 tenths away from the Red Bull now, which shows consistency. So Ferrari could get that. Now they've lost a lot of their technicians, the aero technicians. Do they still have the time, the impetus to get that done? Well, in qualifying, we should see that. But up until qualifying, it's going to be bitey. But the race pace we've seen shows that the McLaren are on top, the Red Bull behind, and Mercedes. Strategy will play a lot of roles in this race. The Ferrari are still far away. The Aston Martin are like the 9th or 8th team in race pace. But we can see a lot of progress from teams like Williams, Haas, and VCAB. The Alpine are not on pace this weekend. The VCAB are doing a great job. The Haas team, from their upgrades in Silverstone, they've been pushing and doing a very, very wonderful job. But will that translate into a race points tomorrow up until qualifying? We catch you. So if there's a hunt for Red October, I believe this is a hunt for Red Bull. The McLaren came up against all odds, showing that they have taken over, dominating, ruminating, winnicating, and took the pole and locked out the front row of the Hungarian Grand Prix. I can tell you, the Hungarian qualifying was a blast. We knew the Red Bull are in charge and McLaren had closed up. In short, the McLaren are now in charge. Today, they proved themselves. They've given us a full proof that they can beat their chest, that nothing they happen. Now them they here. The Q1 was funny because there was drizzling up and down the paddock. Like it was in Nigeria. It was coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, which makes the track more cooler and damp. And the McLaren strive in a damp weather. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Remember Silverstone? They thrive, they enjoy the damp weather and they swim freely in it. So in Q1, we had Sergio Perez, the man under fire, the man under knife, out in Q1. He caused the first red flag of the qualifying in Q1 when he stamped his car into the barriers in turn 8, went out, and boosh, that was it. George Russell out from his own fault and from the team's fault because they didn't refuel the car so well when the car came out on a very, very, very wet, or should I say damp track. And he was unable to use his tires very well. They were not hot enough, so he lost time. It was 1.2 seconds from his own personal best. Zhou Guanyu out, Ocon out, and Gasly out. The two Alpines out in Q1. After they've outperformed themselves in Silverstone, they are out in Q1. George Russell, a pole setter in 2022, out in Q1. Sergio Perez in that RB20, out in Q1. What a Q1. In Q2, we had the track improved from the rain and different decisions from the teams in strategy. But the most surprising, the RBs qualified into Q3. I mean, the V-Cabs. The V-Cabs, Tsunoda and Ricciardo went straight into Q3. But the Q2 was funny. Hamilton was almost out in Q2. Almost lost it to Hülkenberg and Bottas. But by the sniff of his nostril, a thousandth of a second saved Lewis Hamilton as he qualified 10th in Q2. For the Mercedes, they are taking pole in 2022 with a bad car, 2023 with a worse car. Wow. Hülkenberg, Bottas, Albon, Sargent, Magnussen out in Q2. Going into Q3, I knew there will be bananas, there will be bangers, there will be whoo. Max Verstappen setting the pace faster, telling everybody he's here. All purple sectors, he's here. He's just gonna do it right like he has always done it. But Lando Norris came in, gave him a big blast of his life. Took him out 2.5 tenths off the pace, got the pole position, set it off, and Oscar Piastri said, oh no, I'm gonna lock it out with you, Lando Norris. Just 2,000 tenths away from his teammate, they locked out the front row with Max Verstappen 3rd, Carlos Sainz 4th, Lewis Hamilton 5th, Leclerc 6th, the two Aston Martins, and then the two RBs. Tsunoda crashed out, caused the second red flag, and from there they came out, but their times never improved. But that is it. That shows it's going to be a beautiful race tomorrow. It might be a little bit wet tomorrow, but it's going to be a wonderful race with strategy, with different things. I remember the 2021 race when Lewis Hamilton alone started the race from the start to finish line, and others were in the pit. By the time he came back, he was last by lap 2. We will see a replay of that in Hungary, but I can tell it's going to be a very interesting race in Hungary tomorrow. Watch out for the race. The race tomorrow might be another Mercedes win, possibly a Lewis Hamilton win, because he always strives in Hungary and he always do well. Or could it be a McLaren win tomorrow in Hungary? Or the Red Bull of Max Verstappen will come out and say, no, I gave it out to you guys, but I'm back on it. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.